Maddie Cail is a singer-songwriter from the Gold Coast who has released powerful country rock tracks, including Better Than I Am, Look at You Now, and Good Girl Gone Bad. Her latest single is Giddy Up, and we're going to talk about that and a few other things. Hi, Maddie.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Your song's in my head. I've been tapping my toes and bopping along. But I have to say, Giddy Up is not about a horse. But it's about geeing up someone who's dragging their heels about a relationship, and then the story takes a turn. So I'm wondering what the inspiration is for this song.
So I actually wrote Giddy Up right after quite a hard breakup. So you can see the emotions that I go through in the beginning is I really still want to be with them. So it's kind of denial. So that's the denial part through the verses. And then I actually, funnily enough, I used to finish the story when I first wrote it really angry. So the last chorus used to finish, you wouldn't have liked it. It was just, I was so much anger coming through. But I stopped about a year later and I sang it again. And I was over the breakup. We were gone. It was like I'd gotten over it and I'd acceptance. So that's why that last chorus turns into more of a, oh my God, I'm good now. Like, you go, let's move on. So you can kind of feel the emotions. If you would have heard it, the first one was anger, but I thought it was really cool, especially I've got to reflect on this song a lot lately. And the more I reflect on it, the more I'm like, wow, it really was a bit of a journey. And it was a really good song for me to get over a hard breakup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping someone is going through something like that and go, oh, okay.
Yeah. But also, I guess, from what you've just described, it shows the power of songwriting as a way of dealing with your own personal story and helping you move past it. Because one could argue that if you hadn't written the song, maybe you wouldn't have been able to move past it the way you had.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I put a lot of, if you listen to my songs, they're very me and my story. So, Giddy Up was probably I was never going to record it either. So I'm glad I showed my producer and he's like, oh, you need to do this one. I was like, okay. And then they just worked their magic, Michael and Caleb Flanders. And I'm so glad I did because I listened to it. I'm like, wow, that was a really tough time in my life. Mm-hmm. And so the lyrics in it also, if you listen, so my pop was a big punter. So all of my life, my childhood growing up around a punter. So, always got the horses out, whatnot. So if you can hear the metaphor is the betting on a horse, which is the guy. But you can hear all those betting terminologies throughout the song, which I thought at the time was pretty cool. And I don't think many people understand it if you're not into the betting kind of vocabulary. Yeah. But
it's good because it gives it a couple of levels of meaning. So people who do know the vocabulary can understand that. And then for, civilians like me, it's just a great story.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you said you weren't going to record it. Was that because you just felt like it was just for you in order to help you work out some stuff?
Well, I never planned on recording music. Oh. I just love music. Yeah, I just never thought really it would be something that I would be interested in. I don't know, not interested in, I just never thought, you could say, oh, I'm going to put a song out. It's never crossed my mind. And then my cousin, Claire Durbridge, who's a professional singer as well, she heard my song, say, Maddie, you need to go to my producer. So I went to Michael when he was in Australia and he listened to 3 or 4 of my songs and he goes, they're all fantastic. We're recording them all. And here I am like, oh, are they that good? But then the more I was kind of in that mindset of, okay, well, I've got something here, the more I kind of have been running with songwriting and I think that's how it started. And now I'm so passionate about writing songs and getting them out there and just having feedback from people is like, oh, this is why I'm doing it. I love it so much. But Giddy Up was probably one that I just didn't really think that people would resonate with. But the more I sing it and see people writing to me about it, the more I'm like, oh, it really is a beautiful song.
Yeah, I think because it does have that more philosophical ending now. It's there's so much about it that's just letting go and accepting that the ride's over. It could have been a good ride, it could have been a bad ride, but it's over.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah. So the fact that you said you had these songs to send to Michael, obviously you had been songwriting for a while. So, and it sounds like it was for your own purposes, for your own amusement, whatever it was. But when did you start songwriting initially?
So funnily enough, my first song that I ever wrote, I was probably 7, and it was for my grandparents' answering machine. I still remember it, but I don't know if you want to hear, but it was just a quirky little fun lyric that I put together. I have a brother and a sister, and my brother and I used to sit there and write songs about and pick on my sister, and that was a funny thing. So we used to write songs about my sister, and she didn't like that. But and then when so I suppose it's all come from a bit of humour, and then I moved when I got older. I've just really just loved getting embedded in telling the story through song. So it wasn't probably until I'd say 5 years ago that I've really. I always used to write songs and go, oh, that's a bit corny. Or no. But now I'm like, no, that's cool. So I think I've kind of found my niche with writing. And someone said to me once, and I don't know if this is a thing for other people, but I was writing Better Than I Am. And the first verse I thought was pretty clever. And he said, don't ever write a song if the second verse isn't going to one-up the first verse. So when you hear my songs, you'll always find that I try to up the second one to make it a bit more catchy and kind of keep you listening. And I thought that was such a good songwriting tip. And this is from like someone who doesn't do songwriting, just obsessed with Eminem. So I've been really trying to take that on board. I've actually got one song coming out in June called June, July-ish, just before the Gympie Muster, called Drink With Me. And the second verse is like, I love it. So I think I've kind of taken that on board and going with that, yeah.
It's a bit of pressure though, right? Like, because you might write a first verse and you're thinking, yes, and then the pressure is on.
Yeah.
So you, therefore, because you set yourself that goal, do you spend quite a bit of time editing your own work to refine it to get to that point?
Yeah, like someone said also, like, if you get a song, get it out as fast as you can or else you'll forget it. And I was like, oh, I kind of ponder on songs for a good few months before they're ready to go. I'll stop, change, and I'll just do it all in my phones, in my notes, and then eventually I'll go, oh, and then it will just click.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of songwriters and some of them do have the stories about songs coming out quickly, but they're usually the rare songs.
Yeah.
So like they just say, oh, that song came out really quickly. All my other songs take quite a long time. So I do think it's, someone else might have given you that advice of get it out quickly, but it really appears to be a rare occurrence, and it's more likely to have the collection of notes here, voice memos there, put things together in your own time.
Yeah, and you know when something doesn't, like, I know in a song if I'm like, oh, it fits, but it doesn't fit. Do you know what I mean? So I always try and come up with more and more things. And since I've been teaching, which is the last few years, it's funny, I teach poetry, which poetry and songwriting very similar hand in hand, like lots of the stuff. So I'm teaching grade 3 poetry going, oh, I could use this in my songwriting, and just little things like that. So there's all these tools online that you can use for poetry, and I've been kind of tapping into them sometimes if I can't find the right word. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I did know that you're a primary school teacher, and I actually wondered whether having to communicate so clearly to young people was good training as a songwriter as well, because obviously you talking to kids is different to talking to adults. You've got to make your intention clear. You have to structure your language in a certain way. So apart from the poetry tools you've come across in teaching, has active teaching itself helped you?
Yeah, definitely. And especially because I think a lot of stuff when you're singing songs, it has to have the meaning and kind of has to resonate with people and kind of get through to them. So in saying that, when I'm singing to my kids, I kind of check in if they get it. But it is also making things very clear and concise for everyone listening. Mm-hmm. So I know it was actually funny. Someone had a question the other day, like, do you use lots of hidden messages? But maybe you're right. As a teacher, I'm very straightforward. So my songs, if you listen to them, there's not many hidden messages. I'm a very what the song's about kind of thing. So that's probably a good reflection now, thinking it's probably because I'm a teacher.
Yeah, but it's also, at the end of the day, it is all about communication, right? Like, you want to communicate to the kids. You also want to communicate to your audience. If you make things too hidden, the message is not getting across to either one of those groups of people. Yeah. And if it's in your nature as well to be upfront, then you wouldn't want to hide what you're meaning. And as you said, you use some punting terminology in Giddy Up, but that's the language. It's not obscuring the meaning.
Yeah, and that's so funny that it was so funny reflecting on everything, really.
But also you saying you sing to the kids. That's nice for them. They get their teacher performing.
So I teach, I've taken a step back from teaching this year. I'm only teaching 4 days, but I teach every single grade, and I'm doing HAS, which is geography and history. So I think you call it HISSY down south. But it's so funny because I teach the prep, right? So all the mums come up to me in the morning when I have them on a Thursday, and they're like, oh, so you're the music teacher. And I'm like, pardon? And they're like, you're Miss Dorrington, you're the music teacher, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, no, sorry, I teach your kids HAS. So I think because I sing a morning song like with my lower kids, like music really is the key to their heart. Like, and they know it. They know once they're all being a bit wild, I just get the guitar out and they all calm and sit on the mat. So it's probably the best teaching tool that I use. But yeah, so I just thought it was hilarious. And so I saw them the next day. Hi, everyone. Just so you know, I am the HAS teacher.
I may use music for other means, but now is this the same guitar that appears in your videos? Because I noticed you have had the same guitar in your videos, of quite a blonde wood looking.
Yeah, my Cole Clark. That's my baby. There's no way that baby goes to school.
All right.
No, so I've actually got I've got a guitar that I leave at school also, because then I can let the kids have a go of it and stuff. So, but it just stays there permanently, and then I take my Cole Clark everywhere else.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I can understand why the Cole Clark stays at home, rather than at school. So, just going back to the idea of you having written these songs, thinking they wouldn't be recorded, and then handing them over to producers who were, wanting to put them out into the world. Once they started to be released, did you feel exposed? Like, oh, I had these secret things, and now they're out there.
My first one's Bad Girl Gone Good. So I don't know. I kind of felt like as a teacher, it's like, what are these parents going to think of me? And then I'll say to the kids, I'm like, oh, they go, is that song Bad Girl Gone Good? That's about you. And I was like, no, I wrote that song. That's good. I'm like, oh, they know. But like, I wasn't bad. I was just a bit wild growing up. So right. I think it's like anyone, you have kids or you get a big job that you've kind of got to tame down and, and so that's pretty much what that song was about. But yeah, so it is funny that I wasn't really, not exposed, but I was more probably kind of cautious about, I've got to be very cautious about what I release. Yeah, so sure. I can't be up there doing any Nicki Minaj songs or anything. But yeah, so I'm very cautious. Yeah. The Drink With Me one coming out is pretty cool, but even, then so I've got to just, I've got two very, like I'm teaching and I'm singing. So I've got to be, like all these kids look up to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But look, country music is a family-friendly genre, generally speaking. There are a lot of kids at gigs always when you go to Tamworth, kids everywhere. So it's just good preparation for any show you may do, I think. Yeah,
and I do have, I don't know what it is, but the kids are always drawn to me, like as a singer and as a teacher. I bring ukuleles to all my gigs. So if you go on my Instagram, you'll see the kids all sitting there playing, and then they'll go home and tell their mum they want to be singers. And I want to inspire kids to be the best they can ever be. And so I think I'm in a kind of good spot to be doing both at the moment. Yeah.
Well, given that you're bringing music into the start of their day, and that is a lovely thing. And I remember being at school, and if we had a teacher who played music, yes, everyone would be calm and transfixed. So I think it's something really fundamental. But your songs are in the country rock genre, we could say. Is that a genre that you like listening to as you were growing up, or that you listen to now?
Yeah, so I've always loved Gretchen Wilson songs. so I think, so those, and I'm a big fan of Shania Twain, so listening to those kind of upbeat songs. But I was also, I'm also a big Offspring fan, which is a rock band, and I love my country. So I don't know if that's kind of where the rock has come into it. I don't know. It's just funny because that's probably my big three, and I love the Zach Brown band. So I don't know if it's Offspring and Zach Brown band mixed together, but I also love those big songs. So yeah.
And your voice is really powerful as well. So, and it has a great tone to it, but I was listening to it thinking it's the sort of power that comes typically from singing in front of instruments where you've got to hold your ground. So I'm wondering how much work you've done with bands, or how much singing you've done in front of bands rather.
Bands, I've only literally, it's funny you say that, I've just come back from band practice. That's my first ever band practice.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've always done duets, so with 2 guitars and myself, but I'm moving into I need to move into the band side of stuff, but I've always just been loud. so I was in the choir in primary school. I think I was in grade 2, and they had to put me at the back with the grade 6s because I was always on key, but I was so loud. So I think I was just, and I've got to talk to kids loud all day. So that's probably where I'm like getting over because they can be loud.
Well, maybe it was just your destiny, Maddie, to be a powerful singer. You've had the voice through this, just, your fate was tapping you on the shoulder or something. So when did you start? So obviously you were in school choirs. When did you start thinking, oh, I could do this performing thing? This works for me.
It was quite hard for me because I was quite big when I was growing up. So I got to about 130 kilos by the time I was 21. And I never sang in front of anyone, or like I was just too many, I suppose, problems. Like I just couldn't think, like it just was too much for me. And I lost all the weight, I lost 60 kilos. And then I started performing in front of people, and they're like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why aren't you performing? So then I got my first gig, and then from there it just went one to another, and my confidence grew. But I still used to get really nervous. And it wasn't until COVID hit that I said, oh my God, I can't perform. Oh my God, I can't lose my voice before gigs because I'm so nervous, because I used to get so nervous I'd lose my voice. And then I had my first gig after COVID, and it was like a whole different person. I was so excited. I was not nervous. And everything changed from there. From there is when I really started recording and getting myself out there a lot more. So there's so many things that come into play when I look back and reflect on this stuff too. So yeah.
Do you think that having that enforced time away from performing helped you come to a decision, really, that it was something that you really loved to do? Or did you just miss it so much that by the time it came back, you thought, oh, I don't have time to be nervous now. I'm just going to throw myself into it.
Yeah, I think it was more that I was just so like, oh my God, it's taken away from me.
Okay.
And now I can't do it. And I was like, and I wanted to do it even more. So then that first gig back, I was like, yes, here we go. I don't know. I think it was more that I couldn't do it, that I wanted to do it even more.
Yeah. So you said you've been performing in a duo. So do you play regularly around the Gold Coast?
Yeah, so we'll play nearly every weekend around the Gold Coast. We do up at Eagle Heights and a few of the pubs around town. But yeah, my next step is to have a band. So we just did practice there because I'm going to apply for Groundwater, which is our local festival. I was actually grew up in Broadbeach, so it's like that's kind of my heart there. And yeah, so hopefully we'll get onto that, but it sounded pretty good. I might put a little sneaky thing on later on my Instagram.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for that. Now, speaking of the social media, I have noticed that you have a TikTok account, and you seem to be a natural at it. So I'm wondering if you actually really enjoy social media, or if it's something that you've had to come to terms with and just get good at making those TikToks.
Oh, I don't know. I think I do secretly love it, but I think time-wise, like being teacher nearly full-time, and then the social media side of music as an artist it's so consuming. So I've kind of been given the kick to go, come on, do a bit more. So but then I've been getting into it, and I've actually spoke to the kids at school because they're really good at stuff like that. And I was like, oh, maybe we should do like a lunchtime, like digital thing, and you can just make my reels for me. But I thought that would be great. But yeah, no, I do enjoy it, but it is time consuming. But I think being creative, I think all the musicians are creative. I think we've got that little hidden thing where we know kind of what we see at the end product before we've done it.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of where I feel like I look ahead before I'm finished my TikToks.
So I'm laughing because I'm suddenly envisaging a little primary school reels factory. It's all these little kids sitting there like editing video for you.
But they are so good at it. They're the ones I would say to them, how do you do this? And they'll show me. So I'm like, why not do a little extracurricular activity, guys?
Or maybe they could just teach a workshop. It sounds like a good idea. So so you said you've got another single planned. Have you got some more songs in the can that you're planning to release throughout the year, or is it now a writing phase, a band phase, performance phase?
So because my producers moved back to America last year, so I did a kind of bulk of recording. So I've got 2 more sitting there ready to go. One of them's Drink With Me. One of them's a song I wrote for my grandparents, which is a beautiful song. They were married for 70 years, so it was their 70th wedding anniversary song. So that's another one, but that won't be till later. But I've just recently started writing a song about my dogs. And I know it sounds funny, but everyone I've played it to loves it. So the ball's rolling with that one being recorded with my producers in America. And yeah, so my next step is band festivals. The songs are sitting there and I just write all the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Do you tend to have a process for writing, as in, do you handwrite? Do you record voice memos? How do you do it?
All right, I'll tell you how I did Giddy Up, because this one was actually quite bizarre. So for Giddy Up, I got a message from a local pub about my, can you sing on Melbourne Cup Day? So It was 2 a.m. I woke up, must have had to go get a drink or something. And I was half asleep and I was so excited because this was my first big gig. Anyway, so I read it and then this song came to my head. So I had this melody. So I sang that into my phone and then I wrote down the lyrics, went back to bed, totally forgot about it.
Wow.
So I wrote the verse and the chorus of Giddy Up. And then 2 days later, I said to my friend, oh my God, I'm pretty sure I wrote a song yesterday. Got my phone out. It was sung into the phone and the lyrics were there. Just for the verse and chorus. But once I get that, it seems to fall into place. Yeah. But yeah, that was how I wrote that one. Better Than I Am. I was out for lunch dinner one day and my friend goes, Maddie, I can't be better than I am. And I was like, that is a great hook. I'm going to write a song. So I put that down, went home, wrote Better Than I Am. And that was a pretty quick song, actually, I think, because it was so quirky and very straightforward. But yeah, so that's how that one came along. Other than that, I'll just pick up my guitar and however I'm feeling usually kind of resonates through what I'm playing or singing at the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When did you actually start playing guitar?
My mum bought me my first guitar for my 16th birthday. Okay. Yeah, so I still got it, but don't play that one anymore. But yeah, so that was when I first started playing, and I think I've had 2 guitar lessons my whole life, but I'm just got in touch with someone because I would like to get better at that. Mm-hmm. So I've started doing more lessons now to kind of just better my skills.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got a fair bit going on. Guitar lessons, band practice, writing songs, releasing songs. You're applying for festivals. Do you have any other festivals that you're looking ahead to that you're booked for or you're hoping to be booked for?
I might have just got on Gimpy Muster.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'm waiting to hear confirmed from that, but I'm pretty sure if you're there, you'll see me there. I really want Groundwater. That's my big goal. Groundwater and Gympie, I do a goal chart at the beginning of the year. I think it's cool to do set goals, being the teacher I am. But I think I've got so much going on. It's nice to visually see it. I'm also headlining the Mudgerbah show this year, which is my local town festival, which is cool. And I'll be at Tamworth. So as being a teacher, I kind of need to kind of set which ones I do and don't do. But those were my main goals this year. And then next year I might venture out a bit more.
Fantastic. Well, you have the songs for it and you're getting the band for it. And Maddie, It's been such a treat to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Sophie.